Hi everybody, you're at home with Melissa and I'm glad that you're here today. I really am. What I want to talk to you about today is something that I think is really important and it's really timely right now. And I don't want to go into too much detail about my own thing. Of course it's going to enter into it and you'll be able to kind of tell what I'm talking about just by, about my personal part of this, just by the subject matter and how I address it. Because what I want to talk about is something quite different from the last video that I temporarily uploaded. You may have seen it. It was a video on growing moss on your own property, and I do want to redo that video at some point. I had to delete it from our playlist because, unbeknownst to me, something happened with the sound. I don't know if that was from the onset or if it was after uploading it. I don't know. In fact, I didn't even know it had a problem at first until a couple of our friends let me know. And I want to thank you guys for that, because I went in and I tried to fiddle with it and tried to figure out what happened, and I couldn't, so I had to delete it. And I do hope to redo that video someday because I think it's a really nice thing to know a bit about. But we're going to do something today that's way off topic from that. What I want to talk about today is obstacles and overcoming them, because as you may have noticed, it's been quite a while since I've uploaded a video, and I want to apologize for that. I just wasn't able. What I'm running into right now is, and I do have to talk about, it's relevant, is that I live in a small town, and our local ordinances actually require you to have lawn, mown lawn. You have to have mown lawn. And you can have gardens, but you're not allowed to let anything grow wild. You can have your berries, your food sources, but other wild plants you're not allowed to let grow. For example, if you're a regular viewer of this channel, you know that I eat a lot of things like, I'll eat wild carrots and things like that. Well, I can't let those grow because I could if I wanted a huge fight on my hands, but I don't. Other people don't realize those are a food source, and so they see them as weeds. And I actually have had some dealings with, and not entirely unpleasant guys. I'm not complaining about the person, but the code officer here in our town told me that you're not allowed to allow wild things to grow on your property here within our township. It's a borough, actually. It's teeny tiny. And you're not allowed to let things grow wild. And, you might be sitting back and saying, but the wild things feed the bees and the pollinators and helps their population to improve. And and letting things grow like that is better for your local wildlife and better for the environment. And okay, I'm with you guys. I really am. 100%. But unfortunately, depending on where you live, you might have laws and ordinances that don't permit that, and that's what I'm running into. And so what I need to do is, the bulk of everything here on my property needs to be cut down. The ground needs to be smooth because it's a really rough terrain, and so I need to smooth that out so it can be mown, and we have to keep it mown. And so I'll be doing that. I do have some raised beds and things. I think that that's okay. I was told, you have to have mown lawn and well-marked gardens. So, and that, of course, nothing wild is allowed to grow in them. So, here's where we come to today's topic. I've been approaching things where I basically let things on the property grow until I'm cultivating something else there. If there's some reason, because of the need for the space, to cultivate something else, I don't cut, or at least don't cut much, and so that's not permissible here. And that's been the way I've been doing things. Well, okay, I can't keep up with it. I can't, the whole property as it is now, in order to keep things short, needs to be weed-eated, which takes considerably longer and is harder on the body than mowing with a lightweight lawnmower or getting someone to mow it. And so I can't keep up with it right now. My own limitations means that I can't. It's been a struggle for 2 years now, and I cannot keep up with it. I can't do it. And I'm finally realizing that, and that I'm not going to be able to do it, at least not in the foreseeable future. So what I need to do is come up with a way to make this workable, and to be a good member of the local community, to be abiding by all of their regulations. You know, whether you agree with them or not, if you live in an area where the regulations are something that you disagree with, unless you can get them to change those regulations, you know, you're going to be a real jerk if you're not abiding by them. So I do want to abide by them. I don't want to be that person people look at the property and say, look at that crazy person. We don't like them. I don't want to be that person. So the way that this township looks at things is lawn good, everything else bad. And so, you know, unless you have the well-demarcated gardens with nothing growing wild, even if it is useful. So we're going to try to do that. And what I've run into here is I hit this period, I couldn't keep up, couldn't do things. And when you get to that point where you just feel overwhelmed, and you stay overwhelmed for a long period of time, and you're trying, and you're fighting, and you're struggling, but you still can't do what you think you should be able to do, you're kind of at a crossroads. You are, because you can either at that point go, okay, I give up. I totally give up. I can't do anything. I give up. Or you can say, okay, well, this is where, you know, you're at the fork. You go this way, it's the I give up, I can do nothing at all, and I'm just going to be miserable until I die. You know, that might be overstating the fact, but, you know, it's to illustrate. That's the giving up on yourself fork. You can go that way if you want to. I don't want to. You know, I have to live with myself, and to live with myself, I have to not go down that fork. I want to go down this fork. This fork here, when you go down that, you say, okay, here's my problems. What do I do to fix them? And my big problem right now is need to have a lawn that can be mown. So I'm cutting down a lot of the things here on the property, and I'm evening out things as best I can. It's taking me longer than I wish it would, but I'm doing the best I can with that. Okay, so I'll get just about everything cut down, except for my vegetable gardens that you can look at, and anybody will look at that and go, that's a pumpkin. You know, they know what that is. So I'll leave those up. Everything else, and bushes, I'll leave those up and surround them with stone. And so that's an obvious bush surrounded by stone. This is something. So they'll know. And everything else, mown. Then what I'll do because what I tend to do is, like I said, let everything go so that it's got the wild stuff and everything like that. Harvest individual plants that I can use from it while I'm working on other areas. And since that's not acceptable here, I'll keep it mown, and then I'll make a garden, okay? Not the whole thing is a garden, which is what I want to do eventually. I want it to all be a garden. But all the paths within, instead of being the chamomile, which is what I was hoping to plant as the walkways, has to be short mown, so it'll be short mown lawn turf in between the beds. And so I'll do one small bed at a time, and I will get that bed as perfect as I can, okay? I'll grow, say, one kind of crop in that bed and make sure nothing else grows, so that when someone glances at it, they can see this is obviously something cultivated. It all looks exactly alike, and there's nothing else growing up between it. If it's a type of plant that will do well with mulch, I'll make sure to mulch in between the plants. And if it's not, I'll just plant them very densely so that other things have less of a chance to grow up. And once I get one bed completed, I'll move on to the next, leaving a walkway between them. So that's how we're going to do this now. And that is taking the more productive route. Now, hopefully what I've said here in some way isn't just a, oh, here's my situation kind of thing, but maybe something that can help you as well. Or if I can't help you directly with what I've said, maybe it sparks some creativity in your mind to get you going and thinking, okay, well, in my situation, I could do this. Or in general, if a person runs into, you know, a certain type of problem, they can approach it in this way. And if that's the case, you know, that makes me really happy just to think that that's happened. And if you have any really good ideas that you'd like to share with the rest of us, I'd love it, and I'm sure everybody else would too. So rather than tackling, and you've probably heard this if you've ever read self-help stuff or gone to seminars on increasing productivity and things like that, but you might be like me. At these seminars and in these books and things like that, they'll say, focus on one thing at a time. Start small and then work up. Don't look at the big picture. It gets overwhelming. You hear this and hear this and hear this, but if you're like me, you go, let's tackle the big picture. We want to see big results. We want to do everything big, everything great. Big doesn't always work out great. In my situation this time, it isn't working out great. So I'm going to kind of flip everything around that I do and go from looking at the big picture and doing things on a large scale to focusing on one small area at a time. That way it won't be offensive to anyone else, because really, I mean, that's a big part of life. You want to get along with people, and you want to like others, and you want them to like you. At the very least, most of us don't want to be offensive people. That's just not good. You know, if you don't care that you're a completely offensive person, I have to tell you, that's probably a bad thing. So what we're going to do is one small bit at a time, okay? And that way things should work a lot better. And, you know, I'll take you with me on the journey as we do these things, but we are going to lose a lot of the things that maybe I've shared with you in previous videos and just have to regain them later when we could do so in a more tamed way. So, you know, temporarily we're taking a few steps back in order to take a lot of steps forward, and that is quite often what you have to do. You know, you might regret that you have to, but you do. You hit a certain situation where you have to take those few steps back in order to leap forward. Now, here's another little bit of advice, or not advice. I'm telling you what I'm going to be doing in my little beds. Initially, what I'm going to be doing is putting little labels, little plastic garden labels, in front of each different kind of plant, so that in addition to people being able to see, oh, that's obviously cultivated, it's one kind of thing, nothing else growing there, if they wonder and go, or is that a weed? You know, they can see the label that says what it is, and it's something growing there for a reason and a purpose. That's not only for them, though. And so this isn't an all bad thing. It helps me as well. I keep saying pardon. But it helps me in that when these plants are smaller, when things are tiny, tiny baby plants, I sometimes have a hard time telling one from another. You know, they have to hit a certain size before I know what they are. And maybe you guys run into that as well. So with the label, I'll know what I'm looking at even when they were itty bitty babies. So that'll be the start. What I'd like to do at some point, and let me know what you think about this, guys. Give me your feedback on it, because I think it's kind of cool. Eventually, I'd like to make little signs, not just the little labels, but little placards that basically tell a little bit more about whatever plant is there. And that's obviously not for anybody not on the property who would look in and say, is that a weed or isn't? It's obviously not for them, because they probably, from outside the property, won't be able to read the placard. But, you know, as you come up, kind of like the educational signs you see in state and national forests, tell a little bit about the plant, maybe its scientific name, maybe even some of the things that you can use it for, or what have you. Because the thing that I run into now, and this is pretty new, is that due to the medications I'm on and things, sometimes I get a little foggy head, and I look at things and I'm like, what is that again? What am I doing? And if I have that quick reminder, and it's not every day that I'm like that, but some days I am, and if I have that little reminder, I won't have to stop and go, what was that again? Look at my sign and be like, yeah, you know. And I've been asked different times, okay, Melissa, how do you know all this stuff about all these different plants and things? How do you know all that? Well, I study. You know, I study up and I learn, and a lot of times the information that I get ties one thing to another, and if something's useful, you're more likely to remember it as well. So, you know, a lot of those things happen and have led me to the point where over years I've amassed some knowledge on different things, and it makes me happy that I have, and I want to continue doing that. But you do sometimes, if you haven't dealt with a particular plant in a while, you'll be foggy. You know, you look at it and you go, It's not quite coming to me. What the heck is that? I know what that is. What is that? And, you know, so you having this really quick little thing to just jog your memory. Oh, yeah. And you can then also read the sign yourself over time, read it and reread it to cement again and re-cement and reinforce the information you have in your mind so that it stays there. Because if you don't use it, you lose it. And if you keep reminding yourself of the information that you want to know about a specific plant, all right, it's going to stay fresh in your memory. And then also, you know, it might be helpful to you guys. I might share some of that with you and look at my own signs and go, oh yeah, I didn't think to mention that. Here's something. And, you know, for visitors here, I have a lot of visitors who come and want to know different things about different things. And they can just then take a little tour around and look at things and go, oh, okay, this is neat. You know, so that'll be fun. I think it'll be a lot of fun. Let me know what you think. And that'll, again, that is finding a way around your limitations. You know, the medication makes me a little foggy-headed on some days. So, okay, if that happens, then I've got these things to help jog my memory. So that's a way to help. That's a way to keep going down that path instead of that one. You know, the focusing on one little bit at a time and getting it perfect before moving on to another. That's another way of taking that path instead of that one. The here's how I get past my limitations versus I give up. And, you know, on this channel, we're all about, and a lot of channels too, it's really nice to see how many channels are like this. We like to focus on this is how we move forward. You know, this is how I'm doing it. Hopefully this helps you. And so we want to always do what we can to be that path versus that. If you're wondering why I'm suddenly just staring off in that direction, in one of my raised beds, there was a little bird, and I thought it was a baby, and I didn't know of anybody, bird-wise, who had babies right now in the area, and here it wasn't. It was just a small species of bird that was sitting there looking like a baby and then went off. So anyway, that's today's video. 15 minutes or so of really quick letting you know what's going on and where we're taking it and how we're taking it from here. Some things to look forward to in the future, hopefully very soon, hopefully. Getting the video done on how to grow mosses and why you would want to, and things about the different pros and cons of having moss growing, and also keeping you up with what we're doing here and the projects here. Right now, we're just basically, we're harvesting some tomatoes, lettuce, things like that. Another thing, hopefully sometime not in the too awful distant future, a couple of cayuga ducks might be coming, maybe. If so, we'll keep you posted on them. We'll give you some information on that specific breed of duck and you know, the pros and cons of having them around and what they're good for and things like that. And of course, more critter videos and things. And my apologies, it looks like we're getting dark. It's the shadows are getting long right now. So hopefully this video is not too dark to be interesting to watch. Let me know what you think about the placard idea, and in the meantime, you guys go out there and do what you do, have a good time, learn lots of stuff, and we'll be back with you hopefully very soon to do more videos. Thanks again for joining us, and I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.